Hello, and welcome to the sixth edition of the Smileyblue podcast. I'm GMT. Joining me, as ever, is the man that has proven beyond any doubt that anybody can make it in Arena FPS. It's Y2J. How you doing?
Correct. If anyone can do it, yeah. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Yes. Hello.
You couldn't even get that right.
No, I've already fucked. It's 1:30 a.m.
Right.
And yes, I need beauty sleep. But there we go.
And today we have two very, very special guests. First, the reigning North American Duel Test Tournament Series champion, a third-place finisher in yesterday's team tournament, and with the timing ability of a fine Swiss watch, it's ZorwakWar. How you doing today?
Good. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. Thank you for asking. Some people, have manners.
I thought
Jake?
you just gave Zorak my intro, by the way, the number one NA dueler. I can't believe this. It's not what we discussed.
I'm not having this. Last, but by no means the least, it is Australian analyst extraordinaire, Phylum. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm fantastic. It's lunchtime here in Australia rather than midnight, so I feel like Jake's getting a taste of the what he inflicted onto stage the other day. And Joel, how are you?
I'm superb. I've had a good relaxing day, and I've now know what it's feel like to be treated like a human being. Jake. Anyway, welcome to you all. Welcome to the podcast. Let's get into something. Let's start most recently North American team tournament. Zorak, you played, you got third. How was your experience with that tournament? You enjoy it? You expecting to do as well as you did?
Yeah, a lot of goes into this. I'd like to spend some time on this topic actually.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I guess typically I was a naysayer of the team modes. When it first came out, I really like duel, and for me, it's kind of a burden to have teammates. Sometimes is kind of what I was thinking of it. But I figured, hey, like this is what everyone's focusing on. If I want to play Diabotical, duels are kind of not happening right now. So, yeah, I think we did better than we thought we would do, but I knew we could. I knew we could do at least that, if not more. Starting out with the team, essentially, I decided one day I was like, okay, let me get in these team tournaments. They pay out to top 12. Like, I'm pretty confident I could put together a team and get top 12. Ballin and I have a battle to get our esports earnings numbers higher than one another, so I can't let him get in.
We would know who's winning that so far.
So yeah, I reached out to Ballin and I was like, hey, if I can get a third, would you like to join me on a team? I noticed he was like not super happy with his previous team, and I played a lot of TDM with Ballin, so I figured we'd be a good match. We also think about the game in the same way. We have very similar dual play styles as well. And then he's like, okay, sure, who's your third? And I'm like, I don't know. Who do you know?
Why wasn't it dual bars? Can I ask that quickly?
I think he's doing real life stuff. And I don't think he plays team modes. We played QLTDM with him, and he doesn't have an experience with it. He's a dueler.
Fair enough. So you end up with Pitt. Pitt previously playing with my boy Death. How did you eventually, get him on board?
Yeah, so Ballin said, hey, he would think about people to reach out to, and he said, well, Pitt, he's a good dueler. He's a good CA player. Ballin's also a good CA player. So Clan Arena from Quake Live. Pitt also played Sacrifice in QC, which is pretty similar to MacGuffin. And so these are the two modes where I have lacking skills, I'd say, is the Wipeout and the MacGuffin. And so I figured if I get Pitt, he's strong in the two modes I'm weak at. He can teach me something about those. And I think it was not hard of a sell to get him on the team, because it's like, hey, Ballin and I were pretty solid. I'm new to team modes, but you just have to trust that I'm going to be able to learn quick enough for this tournament. And he was, I'd reach out to him and he says, okay, the same day pretty much. So
and it worked out. I mean, you played really, really well. And I think one of the things both me and James talked about a lot on the cast was you guys just got better and better. Like, as you say, you're pretty new to team games, so your potential is nowhere near fulfilled at the moment. Whereas the likes of Team Liquid have been doing this for so long, you know what you're getting. They're a known quantity. But with you guys, it was like you were rising to the occasion, to your opponent's skill. It felt like to me watching, you started off decent, just got better and better and better. So a very well-deserved third place finish.
Yeah.
So
Thank
I mean, just personally, you're welcome. Personally, the challenge of team games. How were you approaching that, and how did it, like, how does your dual mindset work in a team environment?
So I think the hardest thing, so duel kind of teaches you how to play in any team mode. Like if you are perfect in all the skills required for duel, you have all the skills for any team mode except being able to communicate and like tell your team. Yeah, there's kind of that team aspect. Is like communication was my hardest thing, but I've played like a lot of Quick Live TDM where it's like, you know, um, having two people in a fight, going in with two people in a fight, that kind of team stuff I'm familiar with, but the whole communication aspect is the hard thing that I was trying to get better at. And so um, that's something we tried to focus on, but I watched a little bit of the VOD back, and we were definitely getting made fun of for being.
I was actually going to bring that up because obviously this tournament we had the com feature, which was so fucking fun because it was just great to hear other people talking. And yeah, the duelers, it was great because I think they wondered if it was even working sometimes when they'd go into your comms and it's just pure silence.
And Jaha had the crickets button at the ready.
That
was good.
How can we time every shard with comms? We need silence.
But I mean, for me, like, I mean, so I'm autistic, and so loud noises for me are a little bit of an issue. And so when I'm in fucking Team Liquid's comms, I'm, Rapha, please, mate, stop doing so many amphetamines, please. Duelers commentary, perfect, not at all fatiguing. You said exactly what you needed to. Ballin, I mean, you all seem very calm. Ballin, are we right in saying that he's sort of your in-game leader? Is he taking the predominant role there?
Yeah, I'd say. Probably, yeah. He was definitely at least playing team captain as far as like all the organizational aspects of the team, as far as setting up scrims, making sure everyone's where they need to be, like for playing games, getting all the tournament stuff figured out, reading all the rules, getting us prepped in that way. And then during the team modes, like Ballin is very good at like the pep talk kind of thing, you know, getting the team ready and like. You know, this is what we're gonna do. This is the game plan. Here's our focus. You know, but definitely during the game, sometimes there'll be something where it's like, hey, we just lost MacGuffin and power up, and they're defending at their base, and I can see my team is the communication slows down. People are running in by themselves and dying, and it's like, okay, guys, focus 1 second. What's our game plan? What's the next item we're going to? How's our attack going? How do we make this back? And so I think everyone kind of has like that kind of leadership role once the game's actually being played.
Yeah, and I think it's great to have that sort of flexibility. It's one of the things I've criticized in other teams where their roles are very fixed. I think in MacGuffin, which is such a fluid game type, that really doesn't fly. And then Extinction, it does a little bit, but I feel like you're hamstringing yourself if you have very dedicated roles, whereas your team, for instance, it felt like you all played life lead, felt like you were all strong, across the weapons, weren't overly specialized in any one way. How important do you think that flexibility is?
Yeah, for Extinction, I think that's probably something that helped us a lot. I know a few of the teams, it's like that we played against, they obviously had like a preferred life lead, and we technically our preferred life lead was me, but I feel like a lot of times I was put in situations where I was just not in the best position to do that role, and so Pit or Ballin would take over. In Extinction, you can spawn between two enemies. One gets a weapon, the other gets a weapon and red armor, and then you're just dead. And it's like, all right, now you're off the spawn, you got nothing, and you're gonna scrounge for weapons and try to assess the next red armor. You can't really play life lead from that unless you're going to give up the first power up. And so being flexible on your life leads is like probably one of the things that helped us win Extinctions against some good players.
Yeah, what really blew my mind, and like I feel like this is one of those things that's so obvious once you see it, but watching Team Liquid scrim and they spawn and they cool life lead off of their initial spawns. And you're just like, that's so simple. Why was I not doing that in every extinction game up until now? You know, just
Yeah.
like you got red armor, your life lead. That's it.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to do it. For sure, like we don't have everything figured out. I said to the team after the tournament, I'm like, I'm really happy with how we did. I think we outperformed expectations. But also I think we have room to grow still,
Yeah.
and I think we can do better. And so, um, you know, I'm excited to see what happens in January. But yeah, half of our played games as together as a team, um, practice and tournament were in that tournament. Like that constitutes half of our games played as a team, and that constitutes half of my games played in team modes. So
I mean, you guys are sick. You're learning so quickly. I think you're absolutely going to be up there. Of course, you were only beaten by Aim Scams and Team Liquid, who also finished first and second in the previous tournament. How stratified is the NA scene at the moment in terms of, and I don't know, Jake, if you want to talk on this as more of a layman, like those two teams seem a lot better than everyone else. Do they feel insurmountable when you're playing them, or is it something you think is going to be in reach pretty soon?
I was going to ask Zorak about Sunken actually with MacGuffin. That seemed to be like
Right.
one of your picks pretty much every series, and I think you only lost to Liquid and maybe I can't remember if you actually played Aim Scams or not. But like those two teams seem so good at MacGuffin, but you guys pretty much smashed everyone else on Sunken. Was that your sort of most practice mode going in? Because you guys were deadly on that mode. Once you got it in the base, your defense was pretty fucking sick. I'll be honest, really good to watch.
Yeah, so Sunken was our pick pretty much against everyone. We did lose it against some people. Like we qualified, so there's two qualifiers. We qualified day 2, and we got like 9th or 10th seed, right? So like there's definitely some improvement until the final day where we like had to show up and play the best. And so we dropped maps against people, Sunken as well. I think the Goon Champ team, Messick,
Oh,
Goon Champ,
Messick, Quake, and Goon Champ, yeah. Very
Yeah,
strong in Wipeout, those guys.
yeah, they beat us 2-0, I think, Wipeout and Sunken in one of the qualifiers. But yeah, we felt most comfortable on Sunken. We felt like it was a little, it allowed kind of like an item base. It's a little bit more complicated. We could slow play the MacGuffin. We felt comfortable in all those. Where Marina, it seems like everyone's a little bit better on that map. I don't know why that is,
but it's also a simpler map, right? So it kind of plays itself more so than Sunken.
Yeah, I need more experience before I can take out all the differences of the maps. But it seems like there's a lot less hiding and like playing it slow on Marina. It's kind of eventually you're gonna get found out. Whereas Sunken, there's infinite slow play, which is something we were able to do well, is because we always know, Mega Red, even a Blue, and so we get the MacGuffin off the point. They all sit on our point waiting for us to cap fast, and we just pick up every item and then go crush them on our point and cap, and then defend with huge sacks and all weapons.
Yeah, it's sort of quality over quantity, I think, is what people are learning about the team modes. For a long time, especially MacGuffin, people had this idea of what it might become in terms of that coordination might get to an almost American football-esque level, where you're going to have set plays and really trying to abuse what I call the points of ingress. I know.
You would.
I know. It's just another gem, isn't it?
Just
Points
chuck
of ingress,
it. Just fucking throw
multi-life
it.
economy. I'm making all of the big term.
When do you think you coined multi-life economy, by the way? Because I've been saying that for a long time.
No, I said it before.
I feel very inadequate at this panel.
I casted Reflex. I know all about the multi-life economy, Phylum. All right.
I casted a lot of Reflex.
All right. I bet you did.
God,
I bet you.
guys, that you cast a pain measuring contest here.
Shut the fuck up. Right. So, yeah, MacGuffin's developing, and this is something that James was very critical of teams. Was when they just didn't pay enough attention, and also it's like Vindicator overemphasized, I feel, by some teams. Like you would just see them get it but without any HP. So what's the point? You're one shot away from death. Yeah, you can also kill anyone in one shot, but it's like, doesn't matter.
One of the
Phylum,
really
what have
interesting
you
things-
observed? Yeah.
Thank you. Just as I'm about to do that. One of the interesting things I've been seeing, especially around Vindicator setups, is that there doesn't seem to be any way to tell what the right play on a Vindicator is, right? And I think this kind of showed listening to the comms yesterday as well. Teams, you could hear players disagree and just kind of muddle through despite some of the players having slightly different ideas about what the right thing to do is. I don't know if there will ever be a clear right play in MacGuffin, or if it's always going to kind of be this intuitive mode. Like, how do you know how much damage you're going to take setting up for a Vindicator? You know, you have to consider so many things, and all the while that point, like, you know, if they've got the MacGuffin at their base, that point's ticking up. There's so many moving parts. I don't know, Zorak might have more ideas about it. Like, is there a way to play MacGuffin, or is every situation just how well can you synchronize all three of your brains to this one plan and execute it?
Yeah, definitely the power up is kind of like the wrench in the flow of MacGuffin in a good way, I guess, where it's like it shakes things up and like changes how the map's going to play out for the next 30 seconds. Our team, we don't care about Vindicator that much. We don't prioritize it much. I would say at least it's obvious what you should do in only kind of one area. Is like, if one team has the MacGuffin capped and they're like 90 points or, you know, close to overtime, you just can't go bend. You have to go get that point capped, or else you just lose the game or the round. So like, obviously you don't go Vindicator there, and then the team defending, they just sit there and defend because they just need that point to defend it in order to win the round. So no one's going Vindicator there. Other than that, you gotta like play it by ear. Like, you know, something we did a lot was their team goes Vind. We get one person to take the MacGuffin off their point. They slow play around the map, hidey like. They just hide around, get up a stack. Two players from our team, we go to the Vindicator and we try to take it or just do as much damage as possible. Best case scenario, we take it, we meet up mid, we go cap, we defend with Vindicator for 30 seconds. Worst case scenario, the guy on point gets the MacGuffin, he's hiding somewhere, and we try to do as much damage as possible to the Vindicator, so the Vindicator can't just go around the map and kill the MacGuffin carrier and recap and defend with it. But really the nightmare scenario in MacGuffin is the opponent has MacGuffin in their base with Vindicator to defend and like weapons and stack to do it with, and that's what we just try to avoid.
I've seen so many situations, even in high-level games, where a team will get the MacGuffin and attack with it, and then basically just get the Vindicator, sorry, and attack with it, and basically just hand the Vindicator over to the defenders who are just holding the MacGuffin in base. And then it's like, cool.
The Vindicator has so much more value on defense.
Yeah, I'd say going into for your attack, like what we did when we got a Vindicator and they still hit it on their point, is like, get some armor on that Vindicator, wait for the next red. Like, it's okay if you come in with 5 seconds left on that Vindicator. If you die, they don't have a Vindicator to defend with, and if you don't die, you kill them all very easily because you're 3 times damage for the next 5 seconds. And yeah, but giving a fresh Vindicator to them to defend with, like,
yeah, gets ugly.
You're
Gets
just
ugly very
adding
quick.
like 30%.
I think we definitely saw a lot more teams prioritizing damage on the Vindy rather than just diving on it, like especially on Sunken. Actually, obviously it's right at the bottom of the waterfall, and you just see so many rockets come down. It was very rare you'd see some guy just get with a clean, fresh Vindicator with a shaft and then go to town. It was it was quite cool to see people not just diving on it. Maybe I'm just used to matchmaking too much, where that's what happens. But it was great to see, just like kind of like in Duel, right? The other guy might be running to a major item, but if you can do as much damage as possible, that's almost as good as picking it up sometimes, so it was good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the North American tournament that we had last couple of days, those playoffs were really, really good. I think by far and away the most enjoyable games to watch. Even Wipeout is getting better and better, which surprises me. I mean, I used to make fun of it a lot. I was like, oh, people paying Wipeout for money. This is a lot. But actually, it is evolving a little bit.
Not
What do we think?
Not as funny as you talking about Wipeout for money, to be fair.
Oh no,
That's
that
funnier.
is. But What do we think? You know, we're a little while on into Diabotical, a few months now. What do we think of this team format with the 3 different modes, the 6 different maps, and the dual challenge that we've still yet to see?
Can I just say, Zorak, if you and Liquid went to a game 5 somehow, I was hoping for the Zorak versus Rapha challenge, and like, who would say no? If he challenged you, you'd have to say yes. But if no, come on, it damaged his whole career. His whole reputation would be gone out the window if he said no.
That was actually our that would have been like the cherry on top of the tournament for us if we could get Liquid to map 5 and challenge them to the duel and have them deny it.
Oh, you'd screenshot that instantly, wouldn't it? Screenshot the Discord message. It'll go around.
That's going into my grave. But yeah, it's I mean, yeah, the duel would be good to take. We actually had an option to take the duel 2 times, and I forgot to ask for it both times. One was against Ved's team, so that would have been really interesting.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm so looking forward to that clash.
I think, on a serious note, you made the right decision to just stick to the team because you're obviously a stronger lineup.
Team.
Yeah. Although you do not have the most expensive mouse pad because of course Papa Smurf has a Glee pad. So you do have to be careful. All right, it's a strong team in terms of mouse pad net worth.
Yeah. The glass ice pads. It's like I know someone has one of those, but yeah, I think what was the question?
I can't remember. What was the question, Joel?
What do we think of the competitive format?
Wipeout. Yeah, Wipeout. I'm not a fan of Wipeout. Actually, it was almost getting to be a point of contention on the team for how much I disliked Wipeout, and I wasn't like willing to learn and practice it. Which I just kind of realized I have a responsibility to the team to like stop being in it. Whatever word, a Debbie Downer. We'll use that about the mode. It's like I can dislike the mode as much as I want, but that doesn't mean like my opponents can't call vote it. So I just started practicing more harder at it, I guess. Like and it's like not my favorite mode. I'm not gonna queue up for Wipeout randoms in the queue, but I did eventually get the flow of it and kind of understand it eventually, and it's not terrible to play. I probably wouldn't watch it, but it's the least favorite for me. Just probably no items. You get all the weapons. You get full stack. It's like people don't deserve that against me. They have to earn that from me.
So we're talking as viewers. For me, I think that if Diabotical just had one team mode, if it was just MacGuffin, just Extinction, just Wipeout, there would be a problem. Not that there isn't, a great depth there and this opportunity for mastery, but I've become a huge fan myself of the variation of modes, and actually as a caster, it's really refreshing. Phylum, you echo that sentiment, or do you disagree?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think going from Wipeout to anything else can be a little bit jarring, just because Wipeout's so different. You really have to shift gear in your head. But yeah, like Extinction and MacGuffin can coexist, really comfortably in a cast.
And Jake, as a viewer, how are you finding the team games thus?
I'm definitely warming to it. When I first started watching Arena FPS, I'd started off watching Duels anyway. So like Duel, I think is still #1. I don't think any of us are gonna fucking disagree with that. But the team modes.
I think team modes are the future. I put that down. I love Duel, but I want to put team modes at #1.
Yeah, I think for sure, they're definitely getting better. And we were talking today, Joe, obviously just when we were playing, like how things like the Wipeout meta, if you want to call it that, are actually evolving as well. And I think as the audience understands more about what the teams are trying to do, and if you guys as casters and the spectating tools can kind of convey that story as well, yeah, it's a lot more fun to watch than it definitely was for the first 1 or 2 team events. So I'm enjoying it, man. I didn't think I would enjoy the team modes. I watched the whole fucking 6 hours pretty much though, and Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think having James on the cast was, I'm sure it was helpful for you as well, Joel. But because he's a European bloody champion, he can explain exactly what's going on. And I know Death did a good job of that last time as well. So yeah, I think the whole thing is definitely a lot better than it was, and it's really enjoyable to watch for me.
Yeah, well, casting with James is easy. Casting with Death, I honestly I didn't do well there. He was wonderful, but then I was getting a bit too sick. So yeah, I think the broadcast was its best yet as well, which I'm quite happy with.
Yeah, I feel like every time Hamo and I, sorry, Zorak, every time Hamo and I cast Wipeout, like the first time we were really nervous because we were like, what are we actually going to talk about? What are we going to do? And every time we've done it, we understand more what the teams are thinking. And in a way, it's actually easier to cast than something like MacGuffin, because MacGuffin, we have no idea what the players are actually thinking and what they're necessarily trying to achieve, unless it's something really obvious. But yeah, like Wipeout, pretty obvious. Commit now, don't commit now, run away, fight.
Yeah. As a player, I do enjoy the triple mode kind of tournaments. My favorite tournament I ever competed in was QuakeCon 2015, and that was the Trimasters tournament where they had a day for TDM, a day for CDF, and a day for duel. And I had a ton of fun there, and so I really enjoy the tri mode tournament schedule, like setup. I'd prefer to have a little bit of duel in there, though. That's for sure.
So before we leave the team games, let's talk about the eventual champions and of course the finalists as well. What's your impression of aim scams? Anybody to any of you?
Let's see here. That's Saigib,
Death
Death
Row.
Row and Yenim.
Row, and Yenim. Okay. Yeah, they're all strong aimers. We scrimmed them once the day of the final day in the morning. So we scrimmed aim scams. I think Team Liquid scrimmed Minority Report just to warm up. And it was good for us because we got pretty crushed, but we got all our bad games out of the way in the morning before the tournament started, and then played well. So that, but I think if we're playing well and we get a lot more practice on our belt, we could beat them. They're just really good at DMing, and so we're getting out damaged a lot. Team Liquid, I'd say like we play 10 best of fives and we could win one or two of those.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, we need some more practice, and I think I'm kind of hopeful that we're getting better really quickly. And if we keep scrimming, I think we can maybe dethrone one of these teams. So we'll see.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
But
one of my big takeaways from watching Team Liquid, I guess the most interesting thing I noticed about them, playing Extinction, they're really happy to take trades where other teams I think aren't. Like they'll go into a scrappy situation and they will keep making it scrappy, just knowing that they're actually going to get ahead. Like lots of teams are just trying to keep everyone alive all the time, and Team Liquid are just like, we're going to give up 2 or 3 lives, but we're going to get so far ahead off of it. I think that was really cool to see.
Yeah. Just minimal time played against these teams. We didn't scrim aim scams or Team Liquid, so only our team games with them were in the tournament. Besides the one aim scam scrim, we still haven't played them in tournament. And or did we? I don't remember actually, but I think we haven't. And yeah, with Team Liquid, it's just I think we're kind of working at a deficit on my team of being out DM'd by a lot of people. And it's like, if Rapha and one of us goes into a head-on-head, equal fight, over and over again, Rapha's going to get the majority of those wins. And so Team Liquid just making it sassy and like going in for fight after fight and not letting us to control the map. And that's probably a better play for them. Even though I think they kind of played the style of 3 of us run around the map accomplishing tasks together. While our team, we were trying more to like control as much of the map as possible. We figured out that like we're just getting bodied, one at a time by this power force of 3 people. Just like, okay, they body this person over here, this person over here, this person over here, Yeah, and so we ended up changing our style and playing together as a team more on Extinction, and worked out, I think.
Yeah, Liquid
That's one of the
seems.
things.
Oh, sorry, Joe. I was going to say Liquid seemed really strong, particularly on Extinction, and everyone obviously, because we were exposed to. I know everyone watches Rapha stream anyway, so they know what the comms are like, but they're like military-esque, fucking Delta Force SAS style comms, where they have like a code word for like every situation. It's just crazy to watch, and obviously in games like Extinction, it seems to really work out for them as well. And it's just, I wanted to point this out. I know James mentioned it multiple times on the cast, but Rapha's like damage output in this game is like scary good. He always seems to be top damage, you know, high 30s, you know, into 40s shaft every game. And this is a guy who wasn't necessarily known as like a super strong aimer overall in Quake Live, but he's showing up big time for Diabotical with his damage output, and you know, he plays as a ghost a lot. I've noticed in Extinction as well. Just that alone, like having a player who's that consistent, obviously must just be tough to play against. And obviously where he's like a full-time professional gamer, he just has the amount of hours, you know, he can just clock in whenever he wants as well. So Liquid just looks super dominant.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. That's as simple as it is now. I don't think there's an Arena FPS player with a similar pedigree, really. I mean, maybe Toxic, sort of the one that comes to my mind. Of course, you would have said Cypher, but I feel like Rapha just has Cypher beat in every single way in terms of the records.
Oh, well, you discounting fatalities, LG, son?
Yes.
You see what he did to Ballin in that video?
Oh, yeah.
Embarrassed him. Embarrassed him.
Rapha's so sick. The thing about Liquid is just got so much energy, got so much determination. I don't know why they care about winning as much as they do, but they really care about winning. And you can hear it in every word that they say. And it's it's a real joy to have such pure competitors. Even losing an upper bracket grand finals, though, it's a clean 4-0, right? You can't just beat them. You've really got to stomp them out, because otherwise they're going to come back.
I guess Liquid
just
actually.
the hype. Sorry.
Oh.
The hype and the energy in there. Oh, we did that thing. Did you see that clip, Joel, yesterday?
Joel's gonna cry.
Shut up.
It's the millisecond. You got Australia and West Coast NA. You're so far away. The delay, you know, fucks you two more than us.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Okay. Just the energy in their team comps is really amazing. I played in a team in last month's Australian team tournament, and we just had like negative energy. Like when things started going badly, our energy dropped, and we just could never get our momentum back up. And there's an Australian player, CKM. He was like a top Overwatch player. I think he went overseas with it for a while. And he's just like such a professional. And part of his professionalism is if you have him in your team, in your comms, he just raises the energy level. He's so hyped. He gets everyone pumped up, everyone ready to go. And it's a skill I've really, started to learn to appreciate more.
It was the thing for me. It was like, if Liquid calls someone's position, they die. Like almost every time. Just so quick reacting to calls. It's not just the communication, but it's the speed that they act on it. Which I think is a lot to do with trust, because they're like, they're subjugating their own decision making to their teammates' command.
Yeah, that's something our team, I feel like a lot of times we'll make calls outs, but like don't get the full commit from the team. We all have a kind of an individual mind about the game, and so that's something we're getting better at. But something we need to practice is like, let someone else's mind make the decision in this aspect. But also, I was going to say that Team Liquid, they're so loud in their comms that they miss a lot of like small sound cues in the game. So you can have a rail at an angle and they can't hear the rail hum because they're yelling over it, or an LG hum, or a door opening or closing. It's kind of funny.
That does make a lot of sense, to be fair. Like, as much as you were made fun of slightly for your lack of comms, when you were comming, it was very calm. And I think, like, you know, that is a benefit in itself. The fact that you don't feel, well, you tell me, but you probably don't feel quite as stressed or pressured as probably some of the other guys. Like if you're the third on Team Liquid, you know, I'm sure they're all used to each other anyway. But if you was a new player joining Rapha and Dahang, and like all that yelling starts happening, I feel like I'd play it a lot worse, because I just feel like, oh shit, they're yelling at me or about me, you know, as I go in. So yeah, you guys were so calm in your comms, and I think it was great to just get the contrast between the two teams, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think it helped that people don't have expectations of our team that they do
Yeah.
of Team Liquid, and so coming into the tournament, like, you know, if you are kind of the underdog, or there's no, it's not like, oh, they're supposed to win. Like, there's less stress when you're actually losing or winning, and so you have less of a, like, sometimes if you're in the winning situation and you know you need to win, or and things start going badly and people expect you to win, it can get in your own mind. I don't think it gets in the mind of Team Liquid because they're all like professional competitors, but some people it does, and for us, we just don't have that, and so we're able to just focus, stay calm, and none of us are like trying to win these tournaments to pay for food or anything. Like, it's just for fun in the end,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun.
Marvelous.
Well, something's occurred to me. We've been talking about team games, but we're all duelists. Let's talk about duel. Phylum, I believe you had a suggestion for a topic.
I did, and I actually want to pose this as a question, right? So I want to ask Joel and Jake, what do you think makes a good dueler? And then I want to see like how that's different to what Zorak.
How wrong we
because
are.
I think I'm setting you up. I think I'm setting you up for us to disagree with you, but I think it's kind of like an interesting way to start the conversation.
It's like one of those, those YouTube videos where they explain something at like 5 different levels. So it'll be like astrophysics to a toddler, astrophysics to a regular person. Yeah. What makes a good dueler? You go first, Jake.
Wow, as a top jeweler myself.
1888 elo.
Nah. That's a great question. I didn't expect you to ask us that. So
How about sorry, let me tweak it a bit. What do you think makes Agent so good? Let's focus it in a bit. Why has Agent been winning everything?
You have to be an abnormal person to be a very good. No. I think like what attracted me. So I've told this story a few times, but kind of what attracted me to AFPS was I think I've done everything like the wrong way round, because obviously the popular games now are the sort of tac shooters and the team battle royales, and everything's sort of quite team focused. I kind of started off with those sort of games, and then I kind of got sick of having to rely on a team, and I kind of got attracted to you're by yourself, and it's you, and every decision you make is going to cost you the game. No one else can throw it for you. You've got to learn yourself, and you'll just win as you get better, right? So what attracted to me to AFPS was I started watching some Quake Live duels. I actually watched QuakeCon 2016 Grand Final. It was the first proper duel I watched all the way through, and obviously the whole hype around that and the occasion just kind of like sucked me in, right? So I was like, shit, I need to watch more of this. Like, this is I was like, this is the future, even though it's really not the future. But to me, I felt really excited. So when I heard about Diabotical, Duel was the first thing I really wanted to play and kind of try and invest into. And plus, I used to play StarCraft back in 2010, and I enjoyed the kind of personal grind you have to go through to, you question yourself like when you're playing it at like 3 a.m. trying to improve, but at the end of the day, you kind of look back and you think that was really good fun actually. So I started trying to learn to play, and I think like what makes a good duel player is like you need to just throw your ego like aside when you're like just starting up, right? I went into every single match like expecting to lose, so when I do beat them, or if I find out that they've been playing Quake for years, that made me feel really good. And I think like it's most of duel is just mental, right? If you don't have the mental strength to go to just get pummeled every game, you're just never going to get better at duel. You have to really, really want to embrace all the aspects of it mentally before you can get better. That's my take anyway. I think it's all in your head, and you'll just get better over time if you can just keep putting all the bad stuff to the side and keep your mind open and fresh to learn more. Like when I spoke to Danny from Australia, actually, he really opened my. I know he's not like the top tier in Australia, but he really because he's an experienced player, and he's one of the sort of top 5 in Australia. He really opened my eyes and gave me a whole new kind of philosophy in how to play duel, because I was just going from item to item to item because that's what I see people doing, but he was explaining like no, damage is like such a premium in duel. You need to be going for damage like as much as possible, but in like a safe way, and just little thing like that just really like blew me away. And like I think I got so much better from that one chat we had. So yeah, that's my weird long-winded answer. Go on, Joel.
Nice.
All right, so Agent, there's a few things I've learned from Agent, and I have watched a lot of Agent. Some say too much for any one man. Right. Utter commitment. Number 1. If he is going to attack you, he will attack you. If he is going to defend, he will defend. He makes all of his decisions incredibly quickly, and then he commits. goes for it. Number two, it's something similar to what Jake was talking about in terms of like humility, is the ability to change your plan very quickly. That's the biggest thing in duel that I think I get wrong. It's like I'm invested in this idea of I'm going to attack this red, I'm going to win that fight, and then I'll go do X, Y, and Z. I got a direct. Now what? And then I sort of just do my old plan, even though it no longer makes sense. So I think Agent is one of the quickest to adapt to a situation and cancel his plan. And then the other thing is I would really point to his ability to make his opponent uncomfortable, which comes from an awareness and also this evaluation of what his opponent wants to do, what they can do well, what they're going to do poorly. Some people like Cooler historically always played the map, right? Whereas as we're getting further and further into duel and people are getting better and better, you're sort of forced to play the player as well. So yeah, Agent makes you uncomfortable. He does everything incredibly quickly. And if you throw a spanner into the works for Agent, he moves on, makes a new plan, gets on with it.
Yeah, awesome. I was hoping, I was like trying to set you guys up to say item timing so that we could like do a Mythbuster, but no, those are really good answers. That's really cool.
Smart guys.
Yeah, well done. No, so yeah, Agent, like he's been a real force to watch. You know, I guess the other player you would want to talk about would be Zorak, but that's less fun because we've got him here. Zorak, what stands out about Agent to you? What are you seeing when you watch Agent play?
Yeah, I think so for a good dueler like Agent, of course you got to have like all the mechanical skills down. You have to have good movement, you have to have good aim, you have to know when to use what weapon, all that stuff. So he has all that. You know, you can get that playing Wipeout, right? But you're obviously not a dueler if you learn all that in Wipeout. So there's something more to being a dueler. Okay, so you have item timings. So you have items around the map you need to pick up and control. And so there's a bit of like understanding what you're allowed to do and what your opponent doesn't want to happen. I think to get to like a really good level of duel, if you're mechanically excellent and then you also just understand where to move around the map and what you can do, you'll be a good dueler, like a really good dueler. But then like what brings it one level higher is you can understand what your opponent wants to do as often as possible. And so Agent just seems to have gotten really good at just like knowing this is exactly what my opponent's going to do, and he almost like toys with them. It's like, all right, 3, 2, 1, spam rocket, hits direct, hits a rail, and then just goes to an item. And it's like he's just kind of reading people, like, and I think maybe if one weakness I can point out of Agent is he seems to dislike his opponent, and to the point where he wants to disrespect them, and to the point where he's not okay to give up a fight or like back down sometimes. Especially see this against Carwick, where it's like they'll just get into a slugfest, and it's like, Agent, you're better than this. Like, play real duel. But he just hates Carwick or something, and he won't let himself, you know, lose an aim battle or like give up map control, and so that can like bite him in the ass.
Phylum, I really want you to answer your own question, but I'm just going to interject slightly. ZorwakWar, did you watch CZM play Road to TimCon 2?
No, I wasn't looking at Diabotical back then.
Don't worry then. Phylum, back to you.
Agent is such a like he makes a decision and commits to it, like Joel was saying, and he knows exactly how much he can get away with. Like his ability to know my opponent's coming this way, I can get here before them, either, you know, block them off from the item, get between them and where they want to go, do some damage and then back away to something else, and have time to get to another position after that as well, that then leaves me in an advantageous situation. Like he just, it's exactly what you guys have all been saying. He knows what his opponent's doing, and he knows how much he can get away with, and yeah, he's not afraid to like make big commitments based off what he reads of his opponent. He's huge. And that kind of leads into this other question of like, well, what, Zorak, you like to say that you and Agent are like the only good players in duel, right?
Here,
Um,
1 second before I answer that. Can I add one more thing? I had a note on something that Jake said.
Mm.
The throw ego aside. He said throw ego aside when you're learning, but like also pretty much once you gain an ego, you stop learning. So I think even like top level players need to throw their ego aside, and that's something that like GMT you touched on as well, is like when your plan doesn't go the way you think it should, like you have to recognize that and be humbled. Like, all right, that direct hit me in the face. Like, okay, my opponent won that situation. I no longer have the right to be in this place, and like throw your ego aside and play the position you're at instead of the position you think you're at. But yeah, okay. What the
Yeah.
whole?
Well, yeah. So I talked to Phrase and Camera a bit, right? Because I guess I'm kind of lucky in Australia, not the strongest player, but I get to play games with the strongest players in the region, just because sometimes I'm the only guy around to play. And Phrase and Camera have a really like either you're good or you're trash, right? And they kind of talk about kind of like you were saying, 90% of Duel is just doing the right thing, and then there's like that extra layer on top that makes you like a top level player or like a really special player. So what do you think about the overall skill level of Diabotical Duel? Like, what do people need to do to lift to actually be good in your standards?
Okay. Yeah, I would say like everyone by this time, it's like 2020. Everyone has mechanical skill. The green aura at times items for you. Everyone knows like where to go on the map. Like yeah, it's just like the main thing is like setting yourself up for secondary plans in case your primary plan goes wrong, and just like knowing what your opponent's trying to do more than they know what they're trying to do. And like that's what brings you to like the top. I think yeah, I'm a bit like arrogant, conceited, whatever, and I'd probably say things. I also like don't have much of a filter. If I think something, I'm willing to say it. And I also like don't lie. So a lot of times I'll say like some really um, black and white statements, like there's only two good duelers in the world or something like that. And so I actually, yeah, I wouldn't take like that with, I would take that with a grain of salt, but also like
Mhm.
that's something that makes me unpopular with some people. Definitely get some people who enjoy when I lose and stuff like that. So
Well, it does beg the question: is Vedmedik any good?
um, you can't say no to that. I would say he approaches the game in a totally different style than me. And he doesn't respect the style I play, and I don't totally respect the style he plays. And so essentially, the way I see his style is he expects to always hit everything he thinks he'll hit, and he expects to not get hit by X amount of damage from his opponent. And there's many times that works out for him, and if it does, he'll get in kind of a roll where he'll just sit in a really good position where he can keep punishing you. And if he hits every single punish, like he can blow up the game. But essentially, like if one of these things doesn't work for you, your opponent gets to control, the game's flipped on its head, and like you are now going to take a beating. Like and so it's like a very risky play style to try to like gain the most amount of reward as fast as possible out of. And I play a much more like if I have control, my first thing I do is I get more control, and I make my opponent have less control. And like I don't know. And so he's like, oh, all you do is strafe jump from item to item. I'm just gonna hit every rocket and rail on you. It's like okay, but that's a little bit more nuanced than that. And then if you don't hit every rocket and rail on me, you're in some trouble. So
Yeah.
But yeah, he's good. He's number 1 or number 2 in A, I'd say.
I was gonna ask you, Zorak, actually, like just a little theory I had as like as a newbie looking into the pro scene from outside, but with the green auras, like you said before, like time and items just isn't anywhere near as important as it would have been in Quake Live, because everyone kind of knows where they need to be. Do you think having better combat skills in this game is a little bit more important than it would be in Quake Live? you'll laugh at this, Phylum, because I know Kama in Australia seems to have like the best combat around in that region at the moment. He just smashes people. He leaves items up and just smashes the guy while they're waiting for a blue and stuff like this. Do we think that having better combat skills in this game is more or less important, or the same, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a range. So in Quake Live, you can pretty much just if you have really good map knowledge and like timing and like you can control everything. All the maps in Quake Live are made in a way that you can do a death cycle on them. Like maybe it's not the most like secure death cycle, but it's essentially like I'm going to get every single yellow, every single red, every single mega for the next 10 minutes. And if you run into me, I'm going to kill you. Like that can happen in Quake Live. In this game, all the maps are too far apart with the items, so there's no death cycle, and then you also have the armor caps, right? So you are forced into the situation where you have to find your opponent and do damage on them. And I think there's like the other end of the spectrum. You got Quake Champions, where all the weapons are so powerful that you kill each other so fast and your stacks are so low that it's like all combat skills, and like what you have like everything comes up at 30 seconds, so everyone knows when everything's spawning and what the cycle is. So you have like Quake Champions where like combat skills are king. You have Quake Live where like combat skills can change how the game is going, but if you're not controlling the map well and your opponent well, like they're not going to save you. And then you have Diabotical somewhere in the middle where it's like good combat skills can really like shine, and like even if you do a ton of damage and die, you're going to spawn on the other end of the map with a red armor and another rocket launcher to go kill your opponent with. And so you're just really not punished for giving up control on the map and instead just looking for a ton of damage.
Yeah, even if you give up control, you can kind of like you're gonna have more guns than your opponent. If you can pick a fight, even if you die where you deal so much damage, and then like on perilous you respawn on red, and then you're ahead again. Like the pendulum swings really fast.
That is
and,
exactly how Carwick plays. If you watch any of his games, like he goes for like zero control, pure damage non-stop, and he either fucking goes out in a blaze of glory, or he just like crushes weaker opponents with it, because it's quite amazing to watch, honestly. It's not quite what I like watching. That's not why I fell in love with watching Quake Live Duel, to be quite honest, but it's quite an interesting... I mean, I've said this before, it's great that we have people with different styles, because if it was all the same, it would be quite dull. And when you do see people like Agent and Carwick face off, it's nice to see the two completely different styles. And if you and Vedmedik were to play in the upcoming Duel tournament, I'm sure it would be great to watch the two contrasting styles that way as well, so... That's my
and that will happen. Get cracked this Sunday.
You're disputing all the other duelers around.
Saturday, I think.
Yep.
Ball going to be there?
No, my boys are at war, taking it easy.
Duel bars?
Easy.
I called Duel bars to win the Dukes one or whatever it was. I don't know why. I just thought he was really good at Skybreak. I was like, Duel bar's going to fucking take this. Yeah, got nowhere near.
But this Saturday, get cracked, $1,500 on the line. All of NA's best. Should be a good show. Casted by Connex5 and Press OK, and I believe there's another stream as well. We've asked a lot about how we played, but it's something that Jake touched on that I would love to get your thoughts on, Phylum and ZorwakWar. Why do we play?
Oh. There's such a good quote, and I wish I could remember who to attribute this to, but it's someone in the Australian Quake community, in one of our old forums. They used to have as their signature in all of their posts. Remember online forums when they were a thing? He used to have as his signature, "I don't play Quake to defeat others, I play Quake to defeat myself." It's like, I really love simple abstract games, right? Like I've got a Go set in my bookshelf just off camera.
There's a
amazing game, right? Like Reversi or Othello, I'm a big fan of. Yeah, I just love games that have really simple rules, but those simple rules interact in interesting ways. And then it's also that kind of, well, here, a few years ago, here I am at the bottom, and here's the top. Like, how far up that ladder can I climb? Just in kind of a hobby way. Like, I'm never trying to be the best, but how good can I be myself? And that's why I tend to sit down and when I'm playing to get better, and I'm sitting down for like 2 weeks or a month. And I'm doing serious practice regularly with certain people working on certain things. Yeah, yeah, it's all in service of like mastering something in myself to improve and pushing myself to the limit.
Yeah, I can echo a lot of that. I'd say for me, like first and foremost, like I game as a hobby. I have other things that are probably more productive I could do if I wanted to like improve myself to be the best. But like that's a really fun aspect for me is like taking something and seeing how good I can get at it. But if I don't enjoy the game, I'm not gonna play it. When not to talk too much about Quake Champions, but like when it came out, it wasn't like my cup of tea, and so I didn't focus on it, even though I was coming from like being close to top NA, like one of the top players in NA and QL. So those skills probably transfer over pretty much to QC, but it just wasn't the game I was looking to play, so I didn't play it. So the game first has to be fun, and then also it's just like, yeah, that kind of battle against yourself. I think was at LAN once in QuakeCon, and there's DKT. He's a NA dueler. It's kind of old school. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he was kind of like making a statement of like, I mean, if you're not willing to like challenge yourself and be the best you can be in like this, like play your best, you know, like put all your effort in this, like what do you do in other parts of your life? Like if you're not if you can apply yourself to be the best X at something, like whether it be Quake or whatever you do in your life, like it's kind of the same thing to be like, I want to apply myself to be the best at this other thing in life that's probably more productive than playing video games. And I think that skill kind of transfers over in a way that's just like, I want to improve in something, how do I do it? And then just like having that drive to do it.
You're your
Yeah,
best
for 10 years of my
dresser,
life-
NA? Best dresser?
For 10 years of my life, I wanted to be a classical flute player, right? And so I was playing flute for hours every day. I went to uni and started a classical music degree, and I was gonna be a performer, like a classical flute performer. And it turns out I did not quite have what it took to make it past that final level. But like just the practice of grinding something, to be the best in my school, to audition into orchestras, to bands, like it taught me so much about practicing, and I feel like arena FPS has kind of become my outlet for that part of my life now that I no longer do it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Does make sense. Why do you duel, Joel?
Because
Joe,
all the
Joe
casting,
doesn't, right?
well, I do.
He
I
quit.
played some today. I played 8 duels today.
He's back.
I won 2. Not great. Not great. Why do I duel? The game is simple, like Phylum was talking about. The rules are, the ramifications are hugely complex. It is, for me, one of the most expressive video games out there in terms of there's not a whole lot between you and the game. Like the actual rules are very, very simple. It's all about how you interact with it. And I've enjoyed like more complicated games. I've played my fair share of Dota. Still play my fair share of StarCraft. But they don't have that direct input in quite the same way. So yeah, I just like expressing myself, and I like playing with other people, and that interaction's so beautiful and I think so pure, because we're not worrying about cooldowns and spells and statistics. It's me and you, and we get to have fun with that. So that's why I duel. And I also duel because it's harder to get commentary positions in popular games. So here I am. It's going to be a big fish in a small pond. Speaking of ponds that are very small, the Australian scene, we always talk about it. Phylum. Is Phrase, is Kammer, is Steege a challenge for the likes of ZorakWar, Agent, and Vedmedik?
If you ask Phrase, right, because this comes up every now and then, right? Zorak and Phrase, and I see Zorak's face. Zorak and Phrase played at
I wanna
QuakeCon
hear.
2016, right? Phrase is like, Zorak's trash, I threw nude him on LAN, right?
He 2-1
that's
me.
what Phrase's assessment. 2-1,
2-1
sorry,
me.
yeah.
So just remind him next time you see him.
He'll forget
I
instantly.
absolutely will.
Yeah, he'll forget instantly.
But yeah, like, that's just kind of how they talk and how they are. Phrase is amazing, right? And I think if he puts the time in to play and play a lot, he gets to that really high level. I love after QuakeCon 2016, people were asking Rapha about Phraze because Phraze and Kama played practice games with Rapha, or at least Kama did before that event, and they matched up really well against him apparently, right? And then Rapha went on to win and just play an amazing game. But Phrase asked Rapha about Phrase says that man likes to gamble, right? Phrase is in the game. He thinks he's better than you. He just wants to smash you because he thinks he can win. And when he comes up against an opponent he respects more, sometimes you don't get like peak Phrase. So I think maybe some it's like you were saying, like ego comes into play. That can be the biggest obstacle to Phrase and Kama. They think they're better than people. Or if they think someone's better than them, can they actually keep their confidence and keep their momentum? But they have everything they need to be a high level player, to be a top level player.
Well, it's gotta suck if you know, with respect to the scene in Oz, like, what do you do when if you're number one and you're winning most of your games, right, in practice? Like, what do you can't compete. I know Phrase used to spend some time in the UK, like back in the QL days. So he'd play regularly in Europe, and that's probably maybe why he kind of ascended a little bit more and did better at some of these tournaments. But they are kind of within their right to say, yeah, we'll just, you trash you or not, because every day in day out they're just trashing everyone, right? Like, pretty much. So like, what do you do? It's tough, right?
Yeah.
If Ping, if Ping didn't exist, they might well be able to apply themselves a bit more.
Watching Rapha prepare for QuakeCon 2015 and 2016 was huge because he was playing people where he was winning like pretty much every game, right? But he took every game so seriously and was always learning something from the game, and he'll be like, I'm not going to play around rail this game. He's going to ignore rail. He was always trying something if he was confident against his opponent. I think Steege has a really good mindset for that kind of learning in Australia. I think he's a very humble player. He's always trying to learn stuff. He managed to lift a lot in Quake Champions coming into that game, and he's carried that knowledge over really well to Diabotical. So again, Steege is someone I think, especially if he went to Europe for a while, and I think he's got a family here and stuff. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen.
No.
But if he spent some time in Europe, I think he would lift really, really quickly. Dandy King as well, amazing player. The one I would love to see the most is Python.
Python, eh? How's he doing in because he was kind of, if I've got my history right, was he kind of before Phrase kind of took the kind of number one, you'd argue, was Python kind of the guy?
So Python competed in international Quake 3 events in 2000, 2001.
Oh, wow.
He was a crazy good Australian player then. He ranked, someone did a big ELO ranking of players throughout history, and Python was in the top 10 in 2003 or something. Right? He's just an insanely good player, and he has been for so long. He's always been up there. His interest comes and goes. Again, he's got his life. He does other stuff. He kind of does it as a hobby. But when he puts the time in, yeah, he gets scarily good.
It's weird because I don't know. I asked that question. It was like, can Phrase compete with Agent, ZorakWar, Vedmedik? But I actually think when you've got a smaller scene like Australia, what you're probably more missing out on is the likes of a Karvik. Because Karvik is this very high level skill test. It's he will never be the best player in the world. He won't. Just the way that he plays is unsustainable. But you need to refute it if you're going to beat him, right? And so it's just this fairly binary thing. Do you know how to beat this or not? And it's it's a bit lacking in the Oz scene. Yeah, I guess so.
And
right?
he pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes. He is absolutely relentless. And I think there's a clear, you could draw a list of people who can beat Danny, people who can't beat Danny.
Right.
Well, it's like a gatekeeper role, right? That's probably what Karvik is in Europe. If you can beat Karvik, then you can go to the next stage and maybe hang with some of the big guns. But if you're losing to Karvik every single game, you can forget being top dog, right? He's kind of like that gatekeeper role, right?
I don't think Karvik's going to win a tournament, but at the same time, he's going to ruin a lot of other people's tournaments.
I think Karvik could do a few small things. I've seen hints of some kind of in my opinion, brilliance, where he's investing damage at really smart times, where he respawns so far ahead, just with how the maps are. He's clearly thinking about the bigger picture sometimes, but then there are other times where you're like, what are you fighting for right now?
What? Because then what he'll do is RJ, so he can shoot through the hole on bioplants. It's mate, it looks great, but what was the...
It's good to watch, though. It's good to watch.
Oh, it's great. It's my favorite thing. I get to shout all the time when I'm watching Karvik.
Zorak, what do you if you've played against Rapha in QL, I think we asked Ball in this when he was on a few weeks ago. Like, if Rapha decided to hang up the QC, mouse pad and shit, would he be number one in NA pretty quick? Do you think? How do you think his skills would transfer to this game?
Yeah, I made a YouTube video on this actually.
Oh.
So
let's get it in the chat.
Let's all watch it right now on live.
Let me find it, but yeah, I'll post it. Yeah, essentially, so Rapha. Let me see if I can summarize that. It's like a 3 or 4 minute video. Rapha had one weakness in QL, I would say, if that you could call that a weakness. He did you already find it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He's quick out GMC. He's quick.
Yeah. Rapha has very clear expectations of how every engagement should go and how, like, okay, we're going to trade damage. I'm at this position. I'm at this stack with these weapons. This is how this engagement goes. Here's my plan B. He has all of that. But if you're able to make a 30% win fight happen more often than it should, like you win it 60% of the time, you can like flip his expectations and get an advantage on him. So you have to just consistently outperform how he's going to expect you to perform in every single fight. And so that's like really demanding. And also, of course, you have to have your whole brain game has to be perfect. You can't like, oh, I forgot to go to the red armor, because then you're just like, you've lost the whole map to Rapha. He's going to play that one mess up to like an extreme advantage. So you have to play your game perfectly and consistently outperform how he's going to think you're going to play. And his expectations on how people should perform in each fight based on stacks or weapons or positions, whatever, is just due to practice and like analyzing every single situation on the game. He's like really accurate in how well you should actually do in every situation. So he's got all that down in, but I'd say he wasn't like the mechanically best player in QL, and I don't think people will disagree with that. The difference is he's been playing Quake Champions for the past 3 years or whatever, and Quake Champions requires mechanical skill above everything else. It's all movement, it's all like aim, it's flicking around, just like doing damage, setting up damage traps, like all that. The weapons do so much damage that like doing damage is the main thing, not map control in Quake Champions. There is map control, but like damage is like king. And so now Rapha has had to train himself to be one of the best like fighters in the world in AFPS. And so like that's like one of the things that wasn't his best in Quake Live. But now he has that. So if he wants to apply all those skills to Diabotical, also he's like a competitor, right? Like he's one of the best competitors.
He's a winner.
Yeah, he's a winner. He has the winning mentality. And so if he wants to apply his winning mentality to duel, like I'm pretty sure he'd be the best Diabotical dueler. But,
Rapha, pretty
I don't
good.
think it would take him long.
Who knew?
The hot take.
Good at the game.
I don't think it's a hot take.
Well, I want to just go back to Phrase quickly, Phylum, because like I'm fascinated with Phrase, right? Because I talked to him a little bit here and there, and obviously I do try and catch his streams if the time is, well, right now the time is great because my sleeping schedule is fucked. But just the way he like, and I've watched a bunch of his old QL duels on his YouTube channel, which I recommend anyone if you didn't know. If you just
there are some really good ones against Python actually.
Yeah, I've seen those, and if you just type in Phrase QL on YouTube, he has this insane ability to just speak what goes through his brain while he duels, and they're great to watch. I genuinely like he kind of going back to the "you're trash or you're not" kind of thing, because when I was talking to him, I would kind of throw some names out there. I won't give all the details, but I kind of throw some names. I'm like, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of this guy? And with Agent, for example, I said, what do you think about Agent? Right, he's clearly number one in Europe right now, possibly number one in the world. And his first response was, well, he's just bashing nobodies, right? He's bashing lower skilled, sort of tiers below, because obviously he recognises that all the top EU dogs are in QPL. So, like, I do wonder, like, I would love to just put Phrase in Europe for like a month and just have him grind duels. And I really, really do think he could be right up there if he, was able to apply himself and put the time in, because obviously his work he has to go away for a week and then come back for a week, so it's kind of split up all over the place. I really, really do think he would be right up there to be one of the best in the world. And it's just such a. I get sad thinking
he
about
already
it.
is, right? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing, people, and I don't want to call out Zoot, but you had Zoot on the show, and he is not the biggest fan of Phrase. But the thing with Phrase is he has already proven that he's a top level player in the world, right? He regularly beat Kilson in Europe whenever they matched up. You know, like he's lost in tournaments to like Sparty, to Evil, but those are like the top players in the world, you know, and he's stepped up to them in times, and he's taken maps and taken series of some of the best players in the world. Like Phrase has already shown that he's like this world-class player, and he could definitely get there again.
Yeah, he did well in QuakeCon 2016.
Yeah, he beat Kilson, who was looking like Kilson looking to potentially upset Evil at that tournament.
And Phrase, he kind of is of the opinion that obviously in this game, because it's most similar to QL rather than QC, he was kind of saying like a lot of these Quake Champions duelers just wouldn't have a chance against a fully practiced up, you know, top tier QL player. Well, Joel's shaking his head. He doesn't agree with that. But if you look, you got Zorak and NA. We've got fucking Agent here as well. I know Agent did play a lot of QC, but what do you think about that, guys? The QC duelers just really don't stack up at the moment.
Fine.
Yeah, there's a certain style, right? There are a bunch of Australians who are kind of, you know, mid to top level duelers now in Diabotical. They came from Quake Champions, and when they made the transition over to Quake Live and Diabotical and stuff, there were definitely the rough, like, few weeks and few months for them where, you know, like, I think combat in Quake Champions, plus forward rocket is a bit more powerful than in any other Quake. And coming over, like, there's definitely, they have certain expectations that are different to the way Diabotical and, like, the Quake Live style of game wants to play. But everyone I know who's made that crossover, who was a good player, has adapted well to it, you know, and lots of them beat me now really, really comfortably.
For me, like, competitors are competitors, and however different, like, any given Quake is from another, or it's Diabotical, of course, they're not that. It's pretty much the same skill set. Like, it's tiny, tiny minutia. I would imagine if the QC duelers moved over, they would occupy the same spot, or perhaps even higher, because of course it's a more professionalized scene. A lot of people able to go full time. It would pretty much return to how it was. Like, I also don't think, and this is a very pessimistic view, and it's something that upsets me. I think if someone's competed at something for a number of years, the chances of them getting a lot better are minuscule. I don't think people really improve that. You cap out pretty early. I mean, that's true. Very high level sports. It's true of other esports. You sort of become who you become pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah. I guess we need that QC money to dry up and have them all come to Diabotical then. See
what
what
we
happens.
need. That's what we need. Right, so we are coming towards the end of our show. Do want to touch on a couple of little newsworthy events. The content server's up. Custom maps. Well, hey, that's going to be a good time. You seen anything exciting, Jake?
I've seen a couple of bits. I know Hamo actually from Oz was streaming some of the new maps. There was I think Stickflip made a Toxicity pretty much replica like for like, which I think's been taken
Stickflip
down.
01.
Yeah,
it's my favourite map. I'm in there, mate. I downloaded it. I got a hard copy.
We need to play that, Joel. We need to play that because I really want to try it.
The head between us is bad enough for you as.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
take me to my house.
Okay, fuck it. This seems like a show match that needs to happen that no one would watch, but we do it
I got
anyway.
paid today. Let's do it. Like, however much you want.
Money match.
But we obviously talked about this a bit last week. Like, it's definitely needed, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. I think we was expecting it for season 2, right? And it's just come out of nowhere. So I'm really looking forward to trying out some of the new maps, and I kind of hope for Duel in particular, I hope like we get like 1 or 2 like standouts that people are like, right, let's get this in. Let's replace Frontier and Casbar with these 2 as an example, and just get them in and see what we can do with these. That's what I'm mostly looking forward to be quite honest, Joel.
Phylum.
Yep, I'll shout out a couple of maps I've seen that are really good. Frost Howl, which I think has been renamed now to Frost something else, but that was good. Played well. Really kind of ABC map. Items and weapons on the bottom level, kind of like in a donut in the middle, and then the 2 major items are on the second level up high. It's kind of like ABC dual map design, but in a good way. Like it just feels solid. I think it could work in the competitive pool with a few tweaks. Archeron by Stickflip as well, I believe. Bizarro World 24, really fun to play.
Wait, T4 is
Vertical Vengeance. Sorry.
oh mate, my favorite map
Oh,
apart from
Joel.
toxicity. I'm in,
So-
boys.
Joel's
I
desk
don't
just
I don't
rose.
know. Yeah, it has some really bizarre rail angles. I actually recorded a really cool duel on it where we just like our first time playing it, and we kept finding these little places. Just be like, oh shit, I can shoot through this like little gap between two rocks and hit him. Or like there's a wooden bridge, and there's this tiny gap between the bridge and the platform, and we traded a rail through it. The guy I was playing, there's some fun stuff there that needs some polish. And then also Struggle by Australian Stroll, someone I've practiced with a lot over the years. I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to shout it out because Stroll is a cool guy, and I'm hearing a lot of good things about the map.
Nice.
All right. I'm looking forward to it as well. I think the dual pool is about ready for some new maps. I mean, I don't think it's, they're not super tired or super figured out, I don't think. Yeah, I'm looking forward to some new stuff.
Zorak's like, what are the new Wipeout maps like? I need to know what they're
Yeah.
More space maps.
Season 2 is coming up. It's an exciting time to be involved in Diabotical, but I think, a lot of that is going to be so speculative. Unless anyone has anything they really want to talk about regarding Season 2 or a change to the game mode, I think we'll begin wrapping things up.
Well, I think.
All right.
Well, I think TDM might be a thing.
Ooh, yeah.
Jake
Do
says
we all
this
want
every
TDM?
week. Jake says this every week, and I haven't heard a source on it.
It's him.
I'm the source.
He's willing
I
it
feel
into
like-
existence.
I feel like they tried TDM in one of the like test weekends, and everyone hated it. And then they brought the weapon respawn down to like 15 seconds, and then we got extinction like 5 days later.
I think
Like they built the whole mode.
I might be wrong though, because I think one of the two good dev streams he did where he kind of got like Photoshop out and was trying to like put his brain onto the screen. Like I think there I might have got that he was maybe considering TDM for season 2. But I could be completely misremembering it. But I don't know. Do we not think it's
TDM?
Needed, like for the pro scene at least?
TDM, it's like unless you have 5-second weapon respawn TDM, it's not casual friendly at all. Like
No.
people just aren't going to be able to cope with it.
No.
And if it's 5-second weapon respawn, you're playing 3 or 4 man FFA. Like it's not that interesting. So I think it's just in that rough place. Like it's such a good competitive mode and such an interesting competitive mode. And I know like Oxide and Icefall were built for TDM, right? I saw test TDM
Tom,
games on it.
Didn't we do some practice commentary for TDM?
Yeah,
Like,
we
I did a lot
we
of- yeah, we
practice
did.
cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Good
tapped for that.
Good times.
First time I'd ever seen Oxide. The HUD was completely broken. I had no idea what was going on. Fun day.
No spectals.
No
none,
spectals.
And like really wonky teams, or it was like Winds, Backzone, fucking
Raven.
yeah, probably the good old days, man. The good old
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with TDM. Like, I would really like TDM. I like it a lot. I'd say I'm the best QL TDMer in North America. 2017 on, which is like no one, right? But
It is just me. To be
yeah.
fair, I'm sitting on a server on Hidden Fortress alone, but I'm the best.
Well, it's kind of like how we're the best Diabotical podcast. Same reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's like, I don't know. So I'm in a TDM pickup channel, and we play a lot of TDM, and that's what we're kind of like. A lot of people in that channel were gunning for that for Diabotical, but really, there's only so many people who are good enough to even play 30-second weapon respawn and enjoy it. Like, and once you do I don't know if they want to do 3v3 or 4v4. If you do 3v3 TDM with 30-second respawn, I really like how it plays. It's really fun, but like no one's good enough to play that. Like it's way too frustrating for if you don't have teammates who work with you, know how to control the map, know how to time, will give you weapons off your respawn, like will attack places together. Like you're gonna have a bad time, and so that's like 90% of players at least. Like if you hit Q, like put me in a TDM game, you're just gonna have a bad time. Like
Yeah, and I don't think like my suggestion, my kind of wish for TDM to come isn't necessarily just. I don't think it's going to make a healthy queue. I'm not that dumb, but I think for like the pro teams, obviously you guys, you guys aren't queuing up for scrims, right? You guys are organising scrims between the teams. It would be kind of nice to see maybe Extinction go and have TDM in instead, right? You still have Wipeout, which I think is actually turning, like we said earlier, it's kind of turning the corner, right? It's kind of it's quite spectatable, to be quite honest. It might not be the best to play, but I think it'd be interesting to see how the teams rank with TDM in there, because it's such a like polarizing mode, and there are just frankly going to be some teams that are just shit at it, and it's going to really affect their placings. But no one can really argue that it's the most competitive team mode probably around, if not CTF that might come as well. But I don't know. I don't think it would make a good queue, don't get me wrong, but I think it'd be great to have in the esports circuit, as it were, and you guys would just have to scream in custom lobbies, you know?
I'm actually of the opinion that, well, I think you're all wrong. I don't think something needs to appeal to casuals. I think that you just need to convince people there's gold at the end of the rainbow. And so get good. And as long as you convince people getting good pays off, then you're golden. But, it's a very, very ambiguous point to make that's like, I can't argue for it. You can't really argue against it. It's like mad fucking like sociology thing. But yeah, TDM, I spectated a lot of 3v3 TDM before the game came out, and it kind of worked. I was getting to grips with casting it. Like it's quite difficult. Extinction gives you a bit more of a focal point because one player can mean more than another, whereas in TDM that is so fluid. But I think we were sort of working it out. I'd love to see it given a go, if only because there are at least a few people that are so massively passionate about it in the way that I think people are about duel. In that same way that it's like people want to dedicate their lives to TDM. And by people, I mean wins. But he's a person, and we need to remember that. But duel players want to dedicate their life to duel. Like this is what we do. Yeah, TDM. I hope to see it. I think the potential payoff, if it worked out, is huge. Whereas it's playing a little bit more safe with the other man.
Yeah, I think James said that right. The reason Wipeout's in there is because you'll get kind of those players that maybe are dipping their toes into competitive AFPS. I think he used Lex as an example, like the streamer Lex, because obviously he's quite skilled at most FPSs, but you throw him into TDM, season 1, he's not going to do a lot. But Wipeout, he can hit shots, right? So yeah, it's definitely like a middle ground. But
and you get to introduce each concept, like TDM, similarly with duel, like ZorakWar has been saying all podcasts long, is like you need all of the guns, you need all of the movement, you need all of the time to duel. TDM's the same thing. Whereas in Wipeout, we need to do the movement and the shooting. And then, Extinction, you need to do the conservation of lives a bit, but not much. Sometimes you're allowed to die. Similarly, MacGuffin, it's like you need the movement. So, yeah, I think if there is a way that TDM's going to work, this slow sort of drip feed of more specialized game modes, I think this is how it could work if it's at all possible.
I agree.
Excellent. Right.
GMT.
We're going to end the show. And so we're going to say our goodbyes. Phylum, what have you got going on? Anything you need to plug?
Oh, just the usual videos coming out. You can email me at my shiny new email address, gaming@tommarks.xyz. I'm actually potentially going to be Marks.
Not Carl then. Just
no. I have Russian friends who are very disappointed that I'm the wrong kind of Marks. But yeah, no, I'm going to be drip feeding out videos. I may not be at my computer for the month of December, so I've got a cool backlog of some Quake Live demo casts, including some classic phrase games, or at least one that I've dug out.
Nice.
So they're going to be really exciting. And I may come back from my hiatus rebranded. So that's something to look forward to as well.
Lovely stuff. ZorwakWar, what have you got going
on? So I'm going to try to compete in some duel this month. Might see me in the team modes in January. The thing is, I'm getting married next month, so it's kind of like a...
Congratulations.
I don't know how much video game time I can dedicate, but yeah,
Bruce, bring your PC. You understand,
Yeah.
got money to win.
Yeah, that's how I convince her to let me keep playing. It's just like, hey, guess what? I won $600 today. Like,
Perfect.
Nice. You
She's
give
like,
her
"All right,
half.
I don't
Nice,
have
nice
that.
gift.
I don't have that excuse. Got nothing.
yeah." She just tells me like, okay, once you start losing, you have to stop playing. It's like, okay, that's good motivation, I guess. But
Oh,
yeah,
congrats,
so
man.
we'll see how much I can play in the next coming months. But yeah, try to catch me in the duel tournaments if you like watching duel.
Lovely stuff. Jake, what's going on with you?
I need to make a public apology actually to Ballin, because Ballin took time out of his day, and he's a very professional person. I've come to know he's a really nice guy. He filmed a dual school episode with me, which I've yet to release because I've had stuff going on. Ballin, I'm going to edit it soon, all right, and it's
Hang
coming
about.
out.
The stuff going on is you sleeping till 6 p.m.
I
to
have
be
a
clear.
weird life right now, but it's fine. It's getting back on track. So that's coming. Someone asked if you're going to live stream your wedding, Zorak. Fancy that?
Yeah, probably.
You probably get a lot of gifted subs, actually, I reckon, or like donos at least.
Yeah, so like a lot of the friends and family can't make it due to all the virus stuff.
Oh,
So I'm figuring out like there's the two-way communication thing, but then that caps out, right? Like Zoom kind of calls and stuff. So maybe it's a one-way broadcast, twitch.tv/ZorakWar.
Can I commentate?
You and James.
We'll see. I got to work this out. You know. But,
Rapha doing the vows, screaming the chat. So anyway,
He's in chapel. He's in chapel.
So I've got that video coming out, and I'm actually in talks with Phrase of doing a kind of Michael Parkinson's-esque interview long form thing, which I may or may not do this week or maybe the week after. So I feel like there's a lot of
See if you can get Phrase and Python in the same call. That's when you get just like every drop of Australian Quake knowledge.
I won't need to be
So
there.
good.
I'll just record the call only and just let them go. But yeah, I've been thinking about doing something like that, so that'd be quite fun. So that's me, Joel. That is me. What about you, Joel?
Beautiful stuff. This weekend, EU team quals. We've got a couple of new commentators. TF2 boys. Our production man, Arch Rhythm, put me in touch with them. They want to cast some Diabotical, so I'm going to be taking them under my very minuscule wing and showing them the ropes a little bit. That's going to be Saturday, Sunday on twitch.tv/TimConLan. After that, I'm going to be casting some Warfort for the Pigeon Duel Classic with the Motherload and Co. Yeah, that's pretty much me. And then presumably I get hired to do EU playoffs the week after that.
I love how you don't know until the day before.
You never know. You never know. When did I learn I was casting this? No, actually I was asked. James went, "Are you casting this?" Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. You're the one that has to tell me. I can't just You're
the boss.
Casting all of them, mate.
You're the boss.
Yeah, so that's me.
Oh,
I
someone
think that's the end of the show.
quickly, Joel. Someone just asked, what are the names of the TF2 commentators?
Give me a sec. Give me a sec.
Give him a sec.
I'm getting on that. E-Pilly and Bum. Bum? Fuck. Not sure we can do work with Bum. No, we absolutely will. So that's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. Come see some new talent that may well replace me in time and leave me on the streets destitute. That's the end of the show. Thank you ever so much for watching. You can catch the VOD on the Y2Jake YouTube channel in what, like 24 hours?
Yeah, roughly. I think there's a rule. So 24 hours time it'll be on YouTube, and it will also be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google, which you better fucking download those, all right? Because the numbers ain't looking great on there. I did it on the back of one comment saying you need to put them on the podcast app. So I did that. It's cost me $10 a month, all right? So
Beautiful.
download those, even though you've already listened to it on YouTube, all right? So yeah.
All right. Thank you, of course, to Phylum. Thank you to ZorakWar. You've both been tremendous guests. And that's going to be our show. Go watch Dusko and have a lovely evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
guys.